You are my sustainment. And I mean it. And I don't understand the logic behind it the same way I don't understand how you open up eyes that were blinded, but you just did, because he just is. That is an unfinished poem as we come back this year. Welcome back, dear friends, to 5 Bars for the Bards podcast. I'm your host, Kim Poet Noble Calhoun. We are so excited. I have the coolest guest in studio right now. He's always in studio behind the scenes, and you just don't see him because he is getting the sound right. He is watching, he's helping. He is my best friend and my lovely husband of 8 years, Davin. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing, baby? Welcome.
Definitely glad to be here. I feel great,
Yes, I asked him to talk because he has so much I believe he can share with people. He's just that cool guy that's going to help show people music. He's going to help show people how to fix something, how to put something inside of the car, whatever. And he's just so freely giving to people, which is one of the great attributes I try to mimic that he does. But I'm going to ask him some questions about music and guitar, but we have no script. I generally don't have a script for my podcast. I do kind of research, obviously, my guests and some questions and pray and all the good stuff and just whatever God lays on my mind to share. But this one, we just kind of going off the cuff. We're going to have a brief conversation to open up 2024. So I'm going to share a few things, and then I'm going to pick his mind about music and guitar, perhaps even performance and cars, if you want to go into that realm as well, because I feel like it's creativity. I mean, it's innovation. It's shaving metal off of blocks.
Yes, I guess you can definitely say that.
Do you consider it in the world of creativity and art?
It definitely is. Whenever it comes to manipulating what's there to change it into something else, altering things, and hey, it's definitely creativity.
Yeah, my husband knows how to shave metal, program, machine, a CNC 5-axis machine that I may sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I really kind of don't. I just can hear words, say them back, but he actually knows what he's doing. So we're going to pick his brain in a moment, but I want to share with you an opening thought to hopefully set the foundation for your year. If you're looking for something, if you're saying, you know what, I want to really grow as an individual, I want to really grow in my calling with God. Y'all, he's playing this music. Every time he does, I hear poetry in my ear. And I love this so much because he helps me write. He helps me write. Whenever he picks that guitar up and I hear this pure sound, y'all hear that? He is love. My God is love. And I was just a novice, not completely committed to him at the first, conflicted how he could love me when he has seen me at my worst, when he has seen my actions and my hurt, how he could view the dejected and still see something of worth. I couldn't see him. I couldn't hear him. I couldn't see clear. I didn't understand this rationale, but I learned that the graces of his love is real. He does not leave me in my low places, but his love still reaches me there. His love is always near. His love is like the remedy when my soul is in despair, because he is love. My God is love, and I am compelled to chase him. I have to know him. I have to digest as much as I can of him, because I tried and he has me now hooked on the taste of him, and he's even okay with me calling on him every hour, borderlining what some may call a serial stalker. But my love does not warrant a restraining order from him. In fact, his love can drop all the charges, because he can be the cop, the judge, the jury, and the lawyer. His love can have me spiritually arrested, mercifully questioned, lovingly corrected, and after I've repented, be gloriously sentenced to endure a life with him for eternity, because he is love. My God is love. That's a long poem, guys, but see, the music it pulls it out of me. And so I thank God. So many reasons to give God thanks for my husband. And I think like when we met, I realized that like that was a missing element. I pick at the keys, but he plays real music. And it just like really inspires the art when I get myself in a frame of mind of prayer and consecration. And then I hear the music. And then I find myself writing with my pen. Sometimes God just gives me thoughts in the middle of the night. But anyway, okay, so foundation for the year, look to the hills. If any of you follow me on social media, then you know at times I have hashtag a word or phrase with the year. And that's God just like gives me this guiding principle, I think, to keep me focused for the year. And this year I woke up, long story short, woke up in the night. He said, look to the hills. Praying at the altar, he kind of like also just kept refining it. And so one of my favorite scriptures that I probably pray often has to do with looking to the hills. I'm going to read the entire passage for you and kind of give you some thoughts. And then we're going to talk a little bit about music. So baby, brace yourself, because Davin is going to share some good thoughts. And also, like, you know how the scripture has a song of degrees. Can you play a song of degrees of elevation while I read this? Like, you're moving up and you feel like when that worship starts getting high, we climbing in the presence of the Lord maybe. But the psalmist says in Psalm 121, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. My help is not coming from any human source. It's not coming from my own ability. It's not coming from any person. It's not coming from anything, any financial increase. It is coming from the Lord. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. That's the keeper of the people. He keeps his people. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. I love this part. Verse 7 says, the Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in. When shall he do this, friends? When shall he do this? From this time forth, and even forevermore. That's Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills. God said, Kim, look up. Look to the hills. Get out. If you find yourself in a whirlwind of chaos, of mess, of just pettiness, whatever I can call it, this place right here is a place of negativity and distraction. And God said, get out of it and look to the hills. You cannot function, neither can you grow, neither can you progress, neither can you fulfill your calling that I have for you to do if you stay there and allow yourself to be in that bubble of negativity. So imagine yourself, right? Perhaps these are your friends. Perhaps this is your circle of influence. Perhaps these are the things that you find yourself having trusted in the most for the last several years. What is it going to take for you to pull yourself? You have to extract yourself from that. And let me tell you, friends, this extraction process is difficult because we want to be around the same people. We find that comfort, and we think if we let go, we won't have anything else to hold on to. But God's like, I'm your anchor. Who are we trusting in? What are you looking at? The Bible tells us very clearly our help doesn't come from anybody except for the Lord. And so God said, Kim, I need you to keep looking up. And oddly enough, when this phrase was in my mind, we traveled and we went to Missouri, and I found myself, my husband driving. I was like, wow, looking at hills. And I'm composing a poem right now about this experience that I'll share with you soon as well, just about looking to the hills. But I found myself winding through the Ozarks and just looking at hills and valleys and beauty and steep drop-offs. And I said, God, you have such a sense of humor, because it's like, not only did I tell you to do it, I'm about to underscore it by allowing you to be in an environment for a while where you see those hills and let them serve as a reminder. So friends, look up, look up, look up, look up, look up. Whenever you find yourself in that whirlwind, That's my word for this season of 2024. I started, and I will complete this book. That's one major goal of mine. The second, that I was writing down about maintaining, obviously, this podcast, and then making certain, I want to give God thanks for teaching me how to record things ahead of time, how to edit, how to be consistent. Frequency matters, and letting this be released every other Monday. That is our goal. And thank you to Alexis 22 at the Lips podcast. Check her out. She taught me this principle, and she is, a podcaster that I know locally. She's been doing her thing. She interviews so many people. Boom, drops. I think she does hers weekly, if I'm not mistaken. And I am just so in awe of it. Thank you, Alexis, for setting a great example for me. You have no idea how it's influenced me. Every time I see a notification and I'm like, oh my goodness, Alexis has released another one. She is so faithful to this. And so I thank you for modeling good behavior, and you've helped me a lot. So, husband, we're going to talk about music. And my husband plays both electric and acoustic. How long have you been playing music?
I should be right at 12 years now, but I don't really keep count.
12 years, I think. Would you say consistent years? Or
pretty inconsistent, I would believe. Pretty inconsistent.
My husband's very blunt and very honest, right? Even about himself. Very inconsistent years.
Yeah. And then when the virus kicked in, I said to myself, "Oh, I'm going to start playing every day while the lockdown is happening." And
how many of us made promises like that? Ooh, we're in isolation. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to start a business. Yeah. Did you? Did we?
Didn't do it.
We didn't do it. We didn't do it. But we're going to do it now.
Oh yeah, we're going to do it.
My husband also builds guitars. There's some up here. To make them sound the way he wants. So he plays music. He's been playing. I met him when he was in a band called Converted with Marshawn Bolden. Marshawn, shout out to him as well. Yeah. One of the most premier keyboard players and organists that I've ever seen in the city in Baton Rouge. Let me tell you, remember when he did that thing? He was playing, and then he did the sound. He was doing a run, and he incorporated Mario when he goes into the tunnel. Dunna, dunna, dunna.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that was in the middle of a shout session, if I'm not mistaken.
And I was listening. I said, this boy is playing Mario in the tunnel while we're shouting. That's when I knew that there were levels, right, to musicianship. Yeah. And Davin was playing with him also, Will. Yeah. I'm going to call him Will on the drums.
Yeah, William West.
One of the baddest drummers in the city of Baton Rouge and abroad now.
And Moses was with us too.
I
can't think of Moses' last name.
His sister Miriam.
Yeah.
But Moses in that quartet, they sang as well. Remember his quartet? So the Lord allowed me to run into this cool guy, and he was around all these musician people. And I just saw wow, people are really into music, and it opened up my world. So tell me about your world of music. If you want to tell us a little bit about your journey, babe.
Well, I started out as the usual, YouTuber, learning off of YouTube, YouTube University. So
did you graduate?
I didn't quite graduate from YouTube. However, I began to start making visits to music stores on the regular, between Guitar Center and some of the other music stores, and that's actually
where Ziegler was open.
It wasn't Ziegler at the time. Maybe it was Ziegler's at the time.
What is that place called now?
It's called Music and Arts now. And actually they're associated, as far as I know, with Guitar Center. So technically, you are still going to Guitar Center, I believe, even if you go there. Mm-hmm. However, I believe that's where I actually ran into Marshawn for the first time, was at Guitar Center. Often, I guess, as a beginner guitarist, you tend to want to go in Guitar Center and just kind of hang out for hours at a time.
Musicians, aspiring musicians, go to Guitar Center and just make a day of it.
Just hang out. You begin to know everyone by first names, you know, and like, hey, how's it going again? You know, when you was just in there yesterday, you know.
How did you get connected with Converted is what I want to know. I don't know that story.
Well, yeah, that's the deal. I was hanging around Guitar Center, and I don't know if it was Marshawn and Will that walked in or just Marshawn. I really don't remember. But he walked in and saw me playing, and he was like, hey. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And, you know, he said, in so many words, basically, he said, hey, you should come by and play at our church. And I was like, oh, okay, I never played at a church before, you know. So I actually went by, I think, that same night. They was having a rehearsal. And then that following Sunday.
Talk about a rehearsal. Yeah. That was a rehearsal.
Yeah, an actual rehearsal, you know, a real one, you know. So we went there that night. At least I went there and joined them and so on. And then that following Sunday, I was playing. And I believe I played there at that church for probably about right at a year and a half, a couple years. I believe I was there until I made.
So do you feel like that experience helped you grow as a musician, as a guitarist?
I believe you definitely grow anytime you can, you know, get with other musicians and actually collaborate, you know. And that's when that actual learning actually did kick in. Other than that, YouTube University didn't really allow you to play with people. So then when you started playing with these other people, then at that point you found out there was a whole nother portion of learning that could possibly happen.
And I think that's such an important thing for people to understand, like the value of networking and finding your people, because it can happen at a Guitar Center. It happens for me at bookstores or going to some poetry night, and you just go and be like, man, you hear a poet you like, and like walk up to them and say, man, that was that line you said, wow. And it's sometimes just sparks a lifetime friendship or a lifetime acquaintance. Or, you know, if I'm in a bookstore and someone's reading a book that I really like or it looks interesting, like, hey, why do you pick that up? And sometimes that starts a conversation, just the value of saying, like you said, hello, what's up, man? Or what are you reading? And it's sometimes that simple.
It was another interesting thing that happened back when I was playing with Converted is that there was one night that I missed. I think I was late coming from work or something like that. And the next day I heard about it. And Marshawn was like, man, you should have came last night. There was this bass player he met.
Mike.
It was
Mike
Bass.
Bass.
So
Bass Mike, I just want you to know that's how I know. Mike Merritt?
No, it's Mike Bass.
That's how we identify you. Bass Mike or Mike Bass. So which Mike?
One time he called me and he said, Davin Lead. I was like, Mike Bass, how's it going? You know?
Well, what we call Will? What we call? We just say Will.
Well, I never had.
Honestly, if you just say Will, we all know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we all
the
know
city
who
knows.
He is. But yeah, he was like, man, I met this bass player last night. This guy was serious. He was like the most serious bass player, you know. And he got to talking about him, and I was like, one day, hopefully I'll run into him, you know. And so happened, he was standing right down the street from me.
Ain't that so? It works like that.
I was unloading the amp for my car one day, and he saw me unloading the amp. Bass Mike, he was walking down the street. He was like, "Hey, you play the guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I play." And then we got to talking, and so happened he was the one that Marshawn was talking about.
That's so cool how
so
things start.
It's
like
interesting,
that.
You
know. So what is your favorite type of music, or who inspires you? And I think, you know what? I think this is a good conversation because certain people don't listen to certain music. And I know you have some inspirations that are not, you know, modern or classic gospel or Christian artists.
Well, yes. Well, it's that, you know, when you look at the history, I guess all of it, they say, came from gospel, or some people say it all came from blues. It's just kind of like those two music styles, I guess they have some serious, you know, relations and stuff. So
what was that?
I basically I want to say my starting point was actually rock. I started out from rock, and then I started researching rock, and they said, hey, you should listen to blues if you want to know how to play rock. So then I started listening to blues. And probably when I got to the church with it, at that point, I was pretty familiar with blues. Mm-hmm. And then I started hearing where it would mix pretty often coming from blues. It would, and if you're playing
gospel was birthed out of blues.
Well, actually, blues was birthed out of gospel. I think this would be the better. Hey, but I don't really know. I don't. All I know is that
there's correlation
in certain churches that blues will mix in so well, like as far as like your minor scales and stuff. But when it comes to
give us a little bit more of that. Do that again.
But in certain places that fits just fine, but it may not fit in some of the churches you may go to. But hey, it works.
It works. It teaches does. You.
Yeah.
And I think if I were going to make a relation, like I read books that are not all Christian, but it teaches me style and craft of writing, vocabulary, like just learning the basic building blocks of language, syntax. And so I think we need the tools in order to say, I got the tools. Now this is what I choose to create with those tools of music or words or language, whatever. I want to know, however, so I'm thinking about right now in my mind of somebody who wants to pick that guitar up, because a lot of people think the guitar is so cool. I tried to pick it up, friends. Fell. It's quite a difficult instrument for me, even just the way you hold it. What was your first impression when you first picked the guitar up, or what drew you to playing?
I did have a guitar in really early years, but it was said that it wasn't really cool to play a guitar, so I actually backed off of it. Yeah, it wasn't cool. What was more cool than that is having a Nintendo. Yeah, that Nintendo. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say playing the drums is more cool than the guitar.
No, that's not what people were saying. The Nintendo was what was actually cool, and the guitar was not cool.
So, what's some of the first things a person should like study? Do you think?
But yeah,
they wanted to like. What was the first thing you studied when you finally?
Well, I didn't study the best thing first. What I studied first was more like scales and soloing. But the issue with scales and soloing is that they have to go over something. And if I don't have anything to go over, then I can't play anything. So I would say to the beginner to, hey, learn some chords first or song foundations. And then at least if somebody asks you to play something, or if you want to play something to hold your attention, then hey, you could play something to hold your attention.
Yeah.
But just running scales continuously through the day, it never sounds musical unless you put it over something.
I watched you do scales, however, and is that how the dexterity, the movement of your fingers, you can go. You see that? You guys see that? If you're watching this podcast and you see his movement and flexibility. Also, you don't have calluses anymore on your fingers, or you do, they've like hardened over and they become your hand.
Yeah.
So I think because I still hear you play scales here and there. Is that you?
Oh yes, I still play scales.
Are you practicing movement, or are you just practicing remembering the scale?
Well, often it's just to get your fingers in shape, but as a beginner, it will still be nice to study chords. And hey, it's even best to do both. But well, you can't say any instrument because saxophones, violins don't necessarily play chords so much.
True. Well, keys.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the keyboard over there.
But yeah, they're both helpful. But when it comes to just having that drive to continue going, it just seems like if I had learned chords first, then I would have had more to keep my attention. Now what I did though is I used to play over backing tracks. So that was part of the YouTube University is where you would click on these backing tracks and you would just run over the backing track with whatever you wanted to play into it. And that's why I found myself learning these scales, and then I would go apply the scales on top of that background, and it was good. It was good, definitely good practice. You also ran into a lot that you actually couldn't use, but at least not depending on where. It depends on where you're playing. If you're playing in a church, you might not be able to use some of the technical scales.
I have a random question about when we were in Guitar Center a couple weeks ago. I saw, some girls bring their guitar and they were buying a pack of strings and they were basically getting the people at Guitar Center to change them. Do you feel like every, guitarist need to learn how to change their own strings, or that's just something that's kind of difficult? Like, is it too difficult, you think, to learn?
To me, it seemed like it's pretty much a walk in the park. You do have some guitars, like one of these ones behind me that has what they would refer to as a Floyd Rose, and it requires Allen wrenches and stuff, like different sizes and stuff to change the strings. And actually, I've been so lazy recently that I hadn't changed the strings on it in probably about 8 months. But yeah, it's just
standard. For some people, you said 8 months, so you're like 8 years, 8 months.
Yeah. But but it is nice to know how to change strings. To me, it's like if I'm gonna study the trade, then I need to kind of at least know the basics. And I would say that changing the strings would be the basics. And then it's like some of us tend to experiment with different string types. So if I want to do that, then hey, it's best that I'm changing them myself, so I'll know if I put a set of cheap strings on it, strings that I don't really like the sound, then hey, let me just change them back to something else.
Which brings about, so if a person was looking at a guitar trying to make a decision, like everything creates, am I understanding everything creates a different kind of a song, whether it's the strings, pickup, whatever these fret thingies. Because those look like seashells versus those that are without. It's just aesthetic for looks.
That is mostly looks right there.
Okay, well, it looks cool.
It's traditional to like a Les Paul having those little inlays. They call those inlays. Just a technical name.
Inlays.
But yeah, it's just aesthetics.
It's the look.
Actually, that Ibanez up there doesn't have any inlays at all on it. So some people always puzzle when they look at it, like how do you know? Yeah, how do you know what fret is which? But they actually do have some dots on the very top that the player can see. But I don't know. Once you get to really playing one, you kind of don't really look at those so much anyway.
One thing I really like about what you do and what you probably inspired me to do the most. And I don't know, I guess I kind of want to do it, but you really put so much attention on mastering the craft. You don't say, I know you picked, I think in the last year or so, kind of been picking around at a bass, but for the most part, you stay committed to like being excellent at guitaring or being excellent in learning performance and racing and the industry in which you work. And then also, there was a third thing I had. What was my third thing? Okay.
I actually don't know. No,
well, you still do that. And I think it's inspiring because sometimes we may find ourselves getting bored. Like, I could find myself sometimes like, okay, spoken word poetry, I love it. Is there another level that I can take it to? And so do you find yourself ever, I won't say bored, but stuck? And you're like, I've been like playing around right here. Do you find yourself that, and then does it make you want to quit, or does it make you say, what else do I have to study to kind of get past that?
Well, I find myself always stuck. I always view myself as being stuck. But I just continue on even though I'm stuck. So, I mean, it's just...
What does stuck mean?
it's like being in the quicksand, but you're not actually fully submerged.
So it's not stuck. You're also
Yeah.
sinking.
Yeah, well, you're not necessarily sinking in this case. It's where I'm
You're
holding
just
on to
there.
something,
Okay.
but I can't seem to get out of it, you know?
Do you
And
think a lot of musicians experience that, and then somehow
if,
like this revelation comes, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to figure that out, and maybe you've heard it at a concert, or you read in a book, or you were listening to a song that triggered something in your mind, and you're like, I've been trying to figure that out for the last 5 years. Is that usually how it happens for you to like go get out the quicksand?
well, whenever I get out, I'll definitely let you know. That way I have the experience in it and I can tell you how I got out. But at the moment, I can say that I feel like I'm actually stuck at the moment. But I am still learning. So, but then maybe I just have this
Superior
vision. Yeah,
desire.
yeah, something like that, you know, where it's like I'm just not satisfied being at a certain point until I get to a certain point. But really, at the same time,
I think that's
at
how
what
all
point?
artists feel. I literally feel
I don't
like
know.
all artists feel that way. Like they may not say it aloud, like say it, but you're always like, what else? What else? What else can I do?
I don't know. I think some people don't even know they're stuck.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
stuck. They're stuck, and they don't even know they're stuck. And they're just satisfied, you know, being that way.
Interesting concept.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess it's it's every now and then you run into a musician that may have their chest poked out and say, "Hey, I'm the greatest," but I'm just not there.
Tupac.
I'm not.
Who said they're the greatest?
Well,
I know there's a
I know
poet
few-
/ rapper who said they're the greatest.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one.
So a question: who, if you could meet and have a sit down session, shared session with any guitarist, living or dead, who would that person be? If you could just sit and talk music and play with this person.
Well, the answer to that question would typically be, some people would probably say, oh, Hendrix would be the best to meet and talk to. But from my understanding, Hendrix didn't have, like, I guess, infinite or widespread knowledge of actual music theory. It seems he just really knew his way around the instrument. So that goes where you have these people that's playing by ear versus people who just they know the theory and so on. So for all of that being said, I would probably end up saying Satriani or somebody like that.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, or him or Steve Vai, those two guys. And there's many more that actually know, a lot too and so on. But it's just,
wouldn't that be really neat if you could,
music.
like, if Joe Satriani was sitting there, or Vai was sitting there, or both of them, and you were sitting there and you just had this like 2-hour session to just chat and play music.
Yeah.
What do you what would be one question you would ask if you could have asked them any question? What do you think he would ask?
Well, going back to this YouTube University thing, it just seems like, from my research on YouTube, they've really answered a lot of the questions that I probably would have asked. So really, when it comes to I really don't know.
You just want to play.
Yeah, and maybe just get some insight from them. Like, hey, what could prevent me from being stuck, or something like that.
It's like writer's block, I think. So as a non-musician, as a person who picks at the piano and a person who writes a lot and love words, if I could relate it to writer's block, I remember, I don't know who said it, but they were questioned about, well, when you have writer's block, meaning you can't find words to write, you can't go further in the book or project you're working on, how do you get unstuck? And the person said, well, they never get writer's block because they read so much, right? They're consuming so many books, so many words, that it's almost impossible for them to get stuck. And so that's kind of like part of the necessity to keep moving forward is that you have to like dig into the tools of the trade. So I wonder if that's like compatible with you have to digest tons of music because that's your, dictionary or whatever. You have to keep eating all the music, all kinds of music, like vary it. Maybe pop. Maybe you don't like pop music, but maybe there's something in pop that mysteriously will unlock and get you out that quicksand.
Yeah, that would really be true. You could definitely learn from a lot of different music types. I
hate pop music. I think it's never mind. I'm not about to be analytical of music right now, but
I can't say exactly what kind of music do I hate. I could say that I even have love for like what a lot of people tend to hate is, metal music.
Oh, I thought you were about to say country. It's about to break my heart.
Well, I can't say
Don't break my heart.
I can't say I love country when it comes to the music side of it, but I know that when it comes to the words, hey, you might like the words.
Love the stories of country music have really affected me so much. Why don't you stay? I'm down on my knees. That's Sugarland. I used to love that song so much. Rascal Flatts. God bless the broken road.
Yeah.
That led me back to you. 'Cause every long lost road. Can you play that? Let me through where you are. I haven't heard this in a long time. Others who broke my heart. They were like northern stars. Think of the idea of what they just said. This is a whole nother podcast. If someone hurt your heart, they were a northern star. You had to experience that to be led to what you don't like. Come on. God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. We were going to play that at our wedding, but we didn't have a wedding. We just got hitched. Which I like way better than the idea of the wedding, if I'm honest. So that's a whole nother story for another podcast. So any final thoughts, any final inspiration you would give to aspiring guitarists? Because I tried to play the instrument, kind of maybe I was inspired while we were dating. Like, I want to learn to play this, and then this good-looking guy can teach me. But at the same time, I found it remarkably difficult to be inspired. And I wanted to play the acoustic because I think that was the one that, you can carry it a little bit more freely. And as a poet, like, let me pull out my acoustic guitar and spit some poetry lines. But I couldn't get there. I don't love it like I like the piano. I love the piano so much. It resonates with me. But what would you say to a young guitarist, musician, or older guitarist who can start playing music at any age?
Yeah. Well, my suggestion would be to definitely get comfortable being stuck. If you can get comfortable, because there will come a time that because they'll have these points where it's like you learn a lot and then you kind of plateau there and then you start going up again like, I just learned something else.
Trajectory?
And you just have to be comfortable at those moments that, okay, I'm kind of feel like I'm at a standstill.
And it can feel boring.
Yeah. But what was actually interesting to me is that the times that I did kind of stop playing a little bit, let's just say if I, put it down for like a week, then when I pick it back up, I actually feel like I'm slightly better than the last time I picked it up, which was actually interesting to me because it, I don't know, I'm not going to sit up here and say that, hey, it's a good time to just put it down, but at least that is how it kind of was with me.
I think that works too. Again, with writing, you could be so absorbed in it. Writing the paper, I tell my students that sometimes, hey, you wrote that paper, put it down, go have fun for a day or two, go play, go do something else, and then return back to it because your mind is just too close to the work. You're too close and you have to detach, decompress, and come back. And usually they can find their way through the paper again. But you can't write like that continually. You go crazy. Oh, man. So this is 5 bars for the bar. Babe, do you give guitar lessons? Somebody might ask that question.
it would really.
He doesn't.
Yeah,
But no,
I really
do
don't.
you want to give guitar lessons?
I don't know. It just really kind of depend. It really depend on who it is.
Right.
And
What he's
time
really
frame.
saying, friends, is this. He will work with someone who's really hungry and serious. Do not waste his time. Do not come playing around. But if you really want to work and you really want to learn and be consistent and faithful, he'll probably work with you. And I think that's kind of how you do a lot of stuff. Like, because time is the most valuable resource. Like, if you're gonna go meet with somebody or somebody comes here and hang out and play music, then you want them to put in the work, because are you serious or not, that's usually determined. I think that's how we kind of live our lives. Do you want this to happen? Yes or no? What are you willing to do to make it happen? Or have you carved out time in your life to invest in this thing? And if not, just don't waste people's time. Time management. I have a podcast about that. So anyway, this is 5 bars for the bars, a little bit about Dav's guitaring. Maybe next time we'll talk about your performance and how you shape metal. And we are really, by we, I mean by nature of me being married to Davin, we're really into the racing industry. Davin does that. He can drive a car, guys. He can really drive a car if you really want to get out of Dodge. And but more so, he can build things, build engines, create so many remarkable things. And I think that's just like, there's so many little things that he does all the time that I don't think really know is even inspiring me. But I think it's the meticulous way that he baking cookies. That was the third thing. The effort you put into scientifically figuring out how to duplicate your cookies over and over and over and over again. The same method every single time. He's serious about getting those cookies right, because we realized with our love for chocolate chip cookies, we would go places and buy them. And Davin, I think you one day said, I can make this at home. And that's how that journey started.
Yeah.
Started investigating how to make this cookie. Like, we are not going to keep buying these cookies all the time. We can do this ourselves. So guys, if you have a question about music, about art, about guitaring, that'll be really good as I'm thinking about, some of the upcoming guests who are going to share some stuff. Make sure you go back and listen to other episodes too, because we've had some remarkable people I feel like on this already, and I don't have like a quote unquote favorite. Everybody inspires me. Every guest, when they share their story, when they share their journey, when they share how much time they've devoted to their calling, it inspires me, and I pray that it inspires you as well. That's what the podcast is about, inspiring people of faith in their artistic calling and their gifts. And hopefully, even if you mentor someone who is artistically driven, that you would listen and pay attention, because there's some burdens that are just, you can't really understand. Like, I don't understand at times what it's like to even be a parent. I don't know what it's like to preach. I can kind of glean things and the stress and the struggle, but there are things I feel like uniquely tied to those who create and use their imagination, and or whether it's through logic, you do a lot of things scientifically that really affects. And so, hey, that's the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next time you're gonna hear from some really cool people coming up in January, and then I want to tell, like, I have this thing, like, I just want to release podcasts every single day because we have like some really cool people. But I'm being faithful every other Monday. Check it out, we'll be there. Some cool things happening. Please share, like, follow us on YouTube, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts. Visit Calhoun.com for all of the things concerning writing, photography, video. And hey, if you want to shoot me an email and ask Dabs if he gives lessons, feel free to do so. Love you guys. Happy 2024. Happy New Year. May God prosper your journey. May you learn some great things from God. May you dig into his word. Eat it like it's going out of style. Eat it like a hungry man that is starved. And then we'll be here.